Okay, so here is an update involving Roger Fortson. In case you were unaware or living under a rock, Fortson was the US Airman living down in Florida who had the police called on him for an alleged emergency situation when it only turned out that he was on the phone with his girlfriend, and there was body cam footage of this now ex-deputy who came to the door, banging on his door, and was doing some weird stuff. Like, we all saw the body cam. I actually did a whole live about it. And then when Roger answered the door, he just fired about like 5 times, killing Roger Fortson. And we was just sitting here saying to ourselves, oh, something has to be done about this situation. Well, fast forward to now, and something is being done, but we're not going to get too excited. Where this ex-Florida deputy has been charged with manslaughter for the shooting and the killing of Airman Roger Fortson. Prosecutors charged a former Florida deputy sheriff Friday with manslaughter for the May 3rd shooting death of a U.S. Air Force serviceman. Former Okaloosa County Deputy Sheriff Eddie Duran Jr. was charged with manslaughter with a firearm, according to State Attorney for Florida's 1st Judicial Circuit Ginger Bowden Madden. Duran is accused of killing Roger Fortson, age 23, a senior airman in the Air Force. Duran was responding to an apparent disturbance call at Fortson's apartment complex. Noted civil rights attorney Ben Crump said that Fortson was on FaceTime with his girlfriend, who heard everything that occurred during the shooting, and that Fortson was alarmed by aggressive pounding on the door by Duran, which anybody would be. Fortson answered the door with a gun in his hand, but it was pointed toward the ground. The charges are the latest development for a grief-stricken family who lost another son to a fatal shooting and have been demanding answers from the Okaloosa Sheriff's Department. Assistant State Attorney Greg Marcil told USA Today a warrant was issued for Duran. If convicted, he could face up to 30 years in prison. He confirmed the office met with the Fortson family about the charge, but declined to share further details about the conversation. Fortson's mother, Shantameki, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, Fortson recently demanded that charges be filed against the deputy in June. During her demands, she said she wanted justice for Roger and that Duran's fear about not making it home was actualized in Roger. Duran thought he wasn't going to make it home to his family. Guess what? This one did it, she said, pointing to a photo of her son. Crump said in a statement that charging Duran was the first step towards justice for the family of Roger Fortson. Nothing can ever bring Roger back, and our fight is far from over, but we are hopeful that this arrest and these charges will result in real justice for the Fortson family, he said. Let this be a reminder to law enforcement officers everywhere that they swore a solemn oath to protect and defend their actions have consequences, especially when it results in the loss of life. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, who fired Duran in May, said in a statement they stand by their decision to fire him following an internal investigation in which Fortson's family comforted. The fact that they fired him and didn't do the usual administrative leave thing means that there's something there that made them have to fire him. Because usually they'll just say they'll just shift them down to a lower position, but they just straight up terminated him. The fact that they just straight up fired him means that either they didn't want to go through all the legality things of lowering his rank or putting him on administrative duty or giving him the usual administrative leave. That says something, because usually that's not the first thing that they go to, especially in a situation like this, as we have seen in several other cases. Duran is accused of killing Fortson when he responded to an apparent disturbance at an apartment complex in Fort Walton Beach, a small community about 150 miles west of Tallahassee. In body camera footage released by police, Duran is seen knocking on Fortson's apartment door 3 times, announcing he's with the sheriff's office. Fortson opened the door with a gun in hand and pointed down. Duran allegedly told Fortson to step back and shot him. The 1st Special Operations Wing identified Fortson as the victim in a release. Fortson was an active duty airman since November 2019. Duran was fired after an investigation revealed his use of force was not objectively reasonable and therefore violated agency policy. Prior to rejoining the sheriff's office in 2023, Duran received a bachelor's degree in criminal psychology, so here's the rundown, and about halfway through a master's degree in human service counseling. focusing on crisis response and trauma, according to the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office investigative report. Duran served in the Army in 2003 and was deployed to Iraq in 2008. He shifted from military intelligence to law enforcement in 2007 and received training through the Army Special Reaction Team as a military police officer. Now, here's the thing. So, you know what? At first I was like, oh, here they go going through his background like they usually do, but I'm glad they threw that in there. So now knowing this, that this guy has a military background himself, and Roger Fortson was an active airman, which means he was in the military, how in the hell did you not know that him having his gun pointed down, he had it in a resting position and you still fired upon him anyway, as if you did not know yourself what that meant, seeing as how you were in the military? Because I'm sure you got that same training. Now, forgive me if I got it wrong, because it did say he was in the Army and that Roger was in the Air Force. So I know that's two different branches of the military. But that might be something that's similar between the two. So now knowing that, you had to have known that he wasn't a threat, but you still shot him anyway. That's very interesting. Someone let me know down in the chat or in the comments if that seems very suspicious. Duran was honorably discharged in 2014 and began his civilian law enforcement career in Oklahoma as a police officer, then canine officer from 2015 to 2019. He moved to Florida in 2019 and joined the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. He briefly moved away in 2021 and rejoined in 2023. So there you have it right there. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to know from y'all, do you think they got this right? It's up in the air for me, because that manslaughter charge, it says up to 30 years, and we all know when something says up to, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get the max. That means that they can't go beyond 30. Like 30 is the ceiling that they can give as far as the max, but they can give anything less, and I do mean anything less than that. But the thing that really stuck out to me in this whole article was the fact that finding out this guy had a military background in himself and didn't realize what Roger Fortson was doing, having his gun pointed down. And then one thing that should be used against this dude is the fact of how he was acting very weird near the door. I mean, he was banging on the door and then standing onto the side like he was doing, like, you know how kids would knock on the door and then run and then hide? That's literally what he was doing. He was knocking on the door, banging on the door, and then running and hiding to the side. So that means that Roger, for all we know, could have been at the door or came to the door a couple of times and looked to see out there and saw nobody was there. And then he went back and knocked on the door and hid some more. And he's like, okay, someone's playing with me, and he never knew. And then when you bang on the door like that, you're gonna think naturally that someone could be trying to break in and you don't know who it is. So his natural instinct was, okay, let me go get my service weapon just in case. Just in case somebody's trying to play. Think about what happened with Sonia Massey when he banged on her door like that. After she called for help and you bang on the door like that, you didn't knock. A knock gives the idea that there's someone, not threatening at the door. But when you bang on the door like that, who's going to want to answer that? At least not without some caution. And then on top of that, again, he was active military, so his natural instinct is, okay, just for my safety, let me get my service weapon just in case. And what's crazy is they're most likely going to have to bring the girlfriend up on the stand, when this goes to trial, because she was the last person to talk to Roger when he was alive. Granted, she didn't see anything that happened because I don't think he had his phone in his hand when this was going down. But she heard it. So I can imagine how traumatizing this was for her. And it's going to be even more traumatizing when they try to put her up on that stand, because they're going to try to get her up on that stand. At this point, she would be a key witness. So yeah, we'll see where this goes, and I'm sure that there will be more updates to come as the story continues to unfold.